Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where you are watching us from. This is Jafric Radio Extra, and this is our flagship program, One Africa, One World. Today, on this edition of the program, we are going to have an intriguing interview with a Liberian man who operates a Liberian restaurant here in Saitama in Japan. Mr. Eric Farly Wulu is my guest on the One Africa One World show today. Before we continue, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The name of the platform on YouTube is Jafric Radio Extra. You can find us on Facebook and on Instagram as well. Don't forget that this program is proudly sponsored by Mama Efi Saloon in Saitama. You can find Mama Efi Saloon in Saitama as well as Amazing Grace Enterprise, also located in Saitama. Mr. Eric Farly Wulu is my guest on the One Africa, One World show. Thank you very much for staying. So like I told you, my guest today on the One Africa, One World show is Mr. Eric Farly Wulu, a Liberian expert residing and working here in Japan. Welcome to the One Africa, One World show, Mr. Eric Farly Wulu.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure being here.
So, we want to know what motivated you, or what was your motivation for moving to Japan in the first place? If you can share that with us.
Well, coming to Japan is just like the vision of every young Liberian or young African. During the Civil War, I and my family went to the Africa Coast where we resided at that time. And then during that time, I was like doing in school and doing a part-time job with Medicine Sans Frontier, which was a volunteer job. That was my first time I got to know more about a little bit about Japan. So like a full release aid that we were given was mostly from Japan. From there, I started getting love for Japan. I was supervised and other stuff. So I was always looking out for the opportunity one day to visit Japan.
Okay. So which part of Liberia are you from? If you can please tell us a little bit about your background, which part of Liberia you are from, where how the environment looks like and all that growing up.
Oh yes, I'm from the southeastern part of Liberia, precisely Grand County. Grand County is the county of the late President Samuel Kanyado. So we are from the same region, especially like his mom and my father were from the same hometown. So
Mm,
I'm from the same part of Liberia, Grand County.
okay. So
Yeah.
which year did Mr. Farley finally move to Japan, and how did you get to Japan?
Well, before coming to Japan, I was like in Ghana, residing
Mm,
in moved to Ghana after the Cote d'Ivoire civil crisis because I was in
mm,
Cote d'Ivoire, and then the Cote
okay.
d'Ivoire civil they broke out, so I have to move to Ghana. While in Accra, we started making some research, try to play all the DV because of the situation, but the DV
Mm.
could not go. Yeah, and I got
When sorry, when you say DV, you are talking about the American Visa Lottery.
I tried first America, and then like
Okay.
a young Liberian just trying to look out for the greenest pasture and moving abroad.
Mm, mm,
Yes, I got this
okay.
friend. Is a
Mm,
lady. She's a
mm,
lady, and we chatted. So she was like, "Oh, why can't you come to Japan?" And then we
okay.
started processing my stuff and other stuff. Send an invitation. So when I came, we met here.
Okay. So which year was this?
That was 2013. I arrived in
2013.
Tokyo 13 December 19.
Okay.
Precisely.
So you mentioned that it was your dream and vision to move to Japan, like most Africans who want to relocate to Japan and work. Before you decided to come to Japan, or before you enter Japan, what was your perception about the country Japan? Did you have any information about Japan? Have you met some Japanese before? Like, what was your perception in general about Japan?
Yes, I wouldn't knew about the good side of Japan. And they also the struggle the Japanese passed through during the World War, and how they overcome the situation. And
Mm,
then the next thing was this tsunami that was in 2012 or 13, 11 years.
mm,
And the kind of tough time watching the
mm,
Japanese through that struggle. I was like
mm,
that. Yeah, I love that part of the Japanese, how to confronted with situation and able to transition immediately.
mm,
Yes, so that was
mm,
like this story was kind of similar to that of Liberia, even though Liberia it was a civil war, but their time
mm.
was a kind of, yeah, how you transition
It's a
from
bit more
difficult.
better. Yeah.
Yes,
So you had knowledge about Japan through news on the internet or maybe on the television because of the things that were happening in Japan at the time, the natural disasters that were happening in Japan at the time, and the resilience of the people to withstand those difficult moments in the history of Japan. So I don't know if you recall the fateful day that you actually left the Kotka International Airport in Accra, Ghana, and when I don't know whether you landed in Hanada or Narita.
Rita.
Okay. So when you touched down in Japan, were all your
Yes,
expectations met, especially flying from Africa? I know Ghana, I'm from Ghana, especially flying from the Kotka International Airport, because we all know the standard of the Kotka International Airport. And land
yes.
looking at the difference in between the two. What was your first cultural shock when you landed in Japan? By the way, was that your first time traveling out of Africa? If I ask you that
No,
question, that was not
no,
your first time
that was not my first
traveling out
time.
of Africa. Okay,
I
so
travel travel to Morocco. I traveled to Dubai.
mm,
Dubai was my first, yeah, out of Africa was Dubai.
okay, first time out of Africa. So, like I said, if you can please tell us what was your first cultural shock when you landed in at the Narita International Airport? Because, of course, if you are looking at the standard of the airport and the how beautiful and all that, and I'm sure DSB is also equally beautiful. So I'm not sure you were so much struck by the beauty of the Narita Airport, because DXB is equally beautiful in the UAE. So, what was your first cultural shock when you arrived in Japan?
Well, it was the weather was kind of a little different. It was cold
Okay.
season. Yes, and we needed to take the train.
Mm.
So that was, yeah, we had to go down.
When was it a winter period, and was it in December or January or February
It
or
was
March?
no, it was in December, and the winter was just
It was
starting.
in
So the weather
Oh.
was kind of at that time. It's not like now. That time Japan was already it was cold, right? It
Mm.
was kind of cold. It was in December. We needed to travel to where we were going. We don't know yet. So I needed to get to, but there was a lot of interested in there. The beauty is okay. It's another thing. Uh, we were like, I was like, yeah, in a new country, new land, and that was it. I'm out of Africa.
Okay. So when you landed at the airport, did you have immediately have any, like, what is he or she saying, like, in terms of the language barrier? Did anyone speak any Japanese to you at the time that you didn't have any idea about,
But
like maybe the taxi driver or the immigration officer at the airport, or what? Did someone speak some
yes,
Japanese to you and you didn't understand? You were lost, like konnichiwa, konbanwa, ohayou gozaimasu, genki desu. Did anyone say something like that to you that you were like shocked?
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. So like for the immigration guy, he could speak little English. But
Mm,
then after I got through the immigration, I needed to pass through the custom, and the
mm,
custom guy could speak English to me. So it
mm,
was like I tried to locate my luggage this
mm,
time, and he was speaking Japanese. I don't even know I was lost. And
mm.
yeah, it just was the first time I said, "Oh wow, it's like people here they don't even speak English at all, or what? Or there
Mm.
are people who."
Well, well, hold on here. Before coming to Japan, well, did you know that? Did you have in mind that most Japanese people do not um, speak English, or even if they understand English, they don't speak it. They prefer to speak Japanese to speaking English. Did you have an idea, or did you have in mind that it's a country that probably because they are American oriented, they probably speak some level of English? Did you have that in mind? So when it happened like that, were you shocked? Were you surprised?
Yes, I was shocked. Actually, I never thought that people could not speak English. I never knew that.
Okay. Okay. So I we can say that your first cultural shock in Japan was one, the weather, because you came in December and it was pretty cold as compared to Africa where you're coming from, and two, the language. So
Yeah.
you are out of the airport, you are in mainstream Japan, you are out of town. On
Yeah.
that fateful day, could you recall some of your like your earliest moments in Japan? Can you tell us how it happened? Did it happen with the food? For instance, the first time you were eating obento, probably you've come new, so you are hungry and you want something to eat. Probably they will take you to the convenience shop, the company or convenience shop, and then you buy some obento and something like that to eat. What was your first experience with the food?
Well, the first time it was much better. The first day, right? Because
Mm,
we were was taken directly to my hotel, right?
mm,
Because my friend could not take me home right away, so she took
mm,
me to the hotel. We didn't really know each other that much. And then from the hotel, Lord, I was able to eat from the hotel. And the next day, so you gotta find the food. Now I could not cope with the Japanese food then. But
mm,
then there was, yeah, I needed to look for the McDonald's, and the McDonald's was kind of a little expensive.
mm,
Yeah, so then she came the next day. We went and took me out to one of the local Japanese dishes, which was
mm,
sushi. First time.
mm.
That was
Your
the first
first time.
experience. I eat
Mm.
it.
Tell us that should be really interesting because coming from Africa, having no knowledge or having not tasted the Japanese food before, not even your bento, and then you are taken straight to a sushi joint. Like, how
The
did
sushi.
that whole experience go? How did you find the whole experience of you being like thrown on your second day? Boom, go and eat sushi, and there's fresh fish, and there's all these things for you to eat. How did you process all that? How did it go for you?
No, it didn't go well with me. With the sushi, it didn't
Tell us,
go well.
tell us what happened on that
So,
day.
so after we got through from the sushi shop, we needed to go to the convenience. We had to go to the convenience store to buy some food stuff and then take them to my hotel room.
Okay.
Yes, so that was
Okay.
how I
So,
could.
so we want to know how when you ate the food, what really happened? Were you able to eat? Did you eat it? And when you ate it, what happened and all that?
No, I didn't eat it. I didn't eat
You
it, and
couldn't eat it.
she was not really happy that I could not eat it. So she was like, "Oh, this is the food. This is Japanese food. Do you see? I'm eating it. You can also eat it." And I said, "Yes, but maybe next time." But now it's so kind of difficult for me.
But definitely you were hungry.
I was hungry. I was hungry. I was really hungry. But
But
I
because it was sushi, you couldn't eat.
Yeah, I could not. It couldn't go well. I tried it, but it couldn't go. So she needed to, the Japanese, they are very nice. So she needed to take me into the convenience store, bought some food stall, a rice board, and all the stuff, and I took them with
Mm.
me.
That's why you have come to your own. As for this one, you are familiar with it, so you're able to eat it.
Yes, from there I started getting used to it gradually.
Mm,
She would make this and then introduce different sauces and all that stuff.
mm. Okay. So with the aspect of the language, I don't know how long did it take you um to be able to not master but be able to have conversation in Japanese, because the reason why I'm asking that is that in Japan, you walk on the street and except maybe you meet some foreigners who are having conversation in their local languages or their home country languages like English or French, people who have come to Japan, almost everywhere you pass is Japanese that you hear everywhere. The conversation, everything is Japanese. And so, how
Yes.
long did it take you for you to be able to speak or express yourself in the Japanese language?
It took me up to, let's say, 6 months. So I
Wow!
wrote it. It took me up to 6 months because I
Wow!
started doing Japanese classes. I needed to start learning Japanese, and then I started communicating gradually. Then the next thing was I could start speaking a little by little. Good morning, good afternoon. After
And that, that
six
was
good
that was in six. After 6 months, that was when you were able to greet in Japanese, like normal I say to like Ohio gozaimasu, Genki desu ka, and all that. That was the first 6 months.
yes, to be able to compose a little. Yeah, sometime you will. Yeah, go 6 months. It took me up to 6 months.
Okay. So here you've made an interesting point. So you are coming out of Africa, and we know our situation in Africa. I'm from Ghana. You are from Liberia. You are, at least you stayed in Ghana for a little bit, so you know the economic situation in Ghana and in Africa in general. And you come to Japan, and then you start schooling. Were you able to finance the Japanese language school? Because from the little that I know, it's not very cheap for someone who has come to Japan fresh to start the language school.
Yeah.
How were you able to finance this?
There's it was like a community school, right? From the city office. I started with the city
Mm,
office.
mm,
The Funabashi. Where I was there in
mm,
Funabashi. So there was
mm,
this free Japanese language school. I think we used
mm,
to go there twice a week. So
mm,
I started with that twice a
mm,
week. I started
mm,
gradually attending that, and then I got a nano school there. It was like 3 months for 5,000 yen.
mm,
So I started with that and then graduated from that, but that was a bit more intensive.
mm. 3 months for 5,000 yen.
Yeah, 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 yeah. 3 months to 5,000 yen.
So
So
in today's currency terms, if you are looking at 3 months in 5,000, you are
yeah,
looking at somewhere between maybe $35 for
yes,
that period.
yeah, 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 sure,
$35 to study
yeah,
Japanese at the time. Um, um, so after that, after 6 months, you were able to do a little bit of ICT, you were expressing yourself and all that, which means that you were integrating into the Japanese society or the Japanese culture, because then you have taken a step to learn the Japanese language formally by going to the language school or attending the language school at the city office. After 6 months, I don't know if you want to share with us. Don't forget that you are live here on Jafric Radio Extra. This is the One Africa One World Show, and my guest today is Mr. Eric Farly Wulu, a Liberian expert residing and working here in Japan. Don't forget that if you happen to visit Japan and you are a Liberian national and you want to have a taste of original delicious Liberian taste or Liberian meal with an African touch. Because he stayed in Ivory Coast and Ghana, I'm sure that he can give you real West African dish that you eat and be satisfied. Please don't forget to visit the Laba Bar and Restaurant in Tokyo, where he's located. As we go on, we'll share more details about his company or his restaurant to you so that you can visit and then have a feel of the African dish that Mr. Eric Farley Wulu has been putting on. So back to you, Mr. Eric Wulu. You first told us that you met a friend and who invited you to Japan. So how did you meet your friend who invited you to Japan, and then you came, and then the whole process turned into marriage? How did you meet this friend? Was it by
Well,
introduction? Was it by an online platform? How did you meet?
no, no, we met on the network platform.
On
On the
an internet
on,
platform.
yeah, we met online.
Wow. So that is for most Africans. That is very lucky to meet someone, a woman on the internet, and then especially a Japanese woman online, and it's leading to you moving to Japan and eventually leading into a marriage. So that is great. So after roughly, per what you've told us, so after roughly like 8 9 months or within that thereabout, you are married, and then your status in Japan has changed. You are legally residing in Japan at the time. So I don't know. So how did you eventually blend into the culture coming from Africa, with your West African background, typical West African background, and then going to reside with a Japanese woman with a totally different cultural background? I know when the two cultural backgrounds come in, like it will really like take some adjustment um, or sacrifices for one of the parties to do. So how did you manage all of that? Like, okay, so this is unacceptable here in Japan, but in Africa, this is how we do our things. So how were you able to navigate through all those differences?
I think we were both helpful to each other. I
Okay.
was also helping her in English while she was helping me with the Japanese. So
Yeah. So that's when officially became an English teacher.
yes, I became the home English teacher while she, she was working. she was yeah, she was working. When she got by home, we will do the English, and then she also would teach me the Japanese, like Japanese culture, what to do, what not to do. So it was
Okay.
she was very helpful to me.
Okay.
Uh,
So, if you are watching us, we are having a session on the One Africa One World show with the Liberian national living and working here in Japan, Mr. Eric Wulu. If you are coming from West Africa and you are living in Japan, or you are thinking of coming to Japan and you are unsure about the Japanese food, or going to buy a bento or eating washoku in Japan, that you are not too sure about how it feels like Mr. Eric going to eat sushi at the restaurant, and yeah, he quote unquote embarrassing his guest by saying that I can't eat this. Don't worry. Mr. Eric operates a bar here in Tokyo, Japan, the Laba Bar and Restaurant, and he serves all West African cuisine. Let me put it that way, because he's resided in Liberia, he's lived in Ivory Coast, and he's lived in Ghana. So these are strong West African countries. So you'll be sorted when you pay a visit to his bar. As we go on, details about his restaurant will be put on the screen so that you'll be able to contact him and pay him a visit and enjoy the best of meals in Japan. Back to you, Mr. Eric. So, after the marriage period and all that, I mean, you are fully blended in. Tell us, what
yes.
has been your worst ever experience in Japan? Your worst experience. You can look through all of that and you say that no, living in Japan since 2013, roughly we are in 2026, so this is like 13 years. What This is my worst experience in Japan. Like, this is something that I sit back and say, nah, this is too much. What has been your worst ever experience in Japan?
The one of the stuff is that one of the things I really experienced was that
Mm,
the point the point where you want to communicate and you cannot communicate, and the second thing is that once you cannot communicate, you can't find a
mm,
job easily.
mm,
Every Japanese you apply to, they will tell you you have to go to the Japanese class.
mm,
Whether it's an unskilled labor, it is a factory job, you still they will still ask you to do the Japanese. Some before I was like, but I'm not going to write the Japanese, so it's just to do the pizza job. Yes, no, you have to learn the Japanese. So I think it's one you have family behind you, like you from Africa. Once you land in Japan, everybody think it is well with you, expect you back to send.
we will come to that aspect of being in Japan, and then the expectation back home in Africa. We will come to that aspect, but still staying on the language. So it was difficult with the language blending in and all that. But I want you to tell us a particular story. Do you go in for a job hunt and you were told to your face that because you couldn't speak the language, you can't give you a job, or you went to a hospital that because you couldn't express yourself, they say no, this is a Japanese only hospital or a banking service? Or I want you to tell us a horrible experience, something that you really can't forget about these challenges with the language. If you can tell us one of the such stories.
So everything will still go around the language, right?
Mm,
Like going to hospital, you don't have you don't first of all the first thing you need an insurance, right? You don't have an
mm,
insurance, they will tell you the high cost of the product, and you don't have the money to spend
mm,
that. So like I had that experience because when I came to Japan, I I was having this uh appendix or something that needed operation. I
mm,
didn't have money when I went to the hospital. I was charged and the amount I had to leave that. But I think one of the yeah, so far it's not so easy starting up
mm.
in Japan as
In
people
Japan.
think it's. Yeah.
Okay. So has been your funniest ever experience? Like something that you can, like maybe you were fresh, you were 6 months in Japan, 2 months, 3 months. You look back and then you can really laugh your head off and say, ah, did I really do this in Japan at the time? Man, I was so new. I was so green. I didn't know about this. What has been your funniest ever experience? Something that you did or something that happened to you? And like we've spoken to someone on this platform who said that they couldn't read the sign languages, and like they had to, instead of exiting from the train station, they ended up going to the sixth floor of a building, and then they entered a jewelry shop. Instead, they thought that they were exiting the train station. Someone said that they wanted to ask someone for help, and then the moment the person realized that they were speaking to a black person, the lady started running away in high speed, Usain Bolt type of speed way. What has been the most funniest thing that has ever happened to you in Japan?
What has ever happened to me was the period I was able to transition a change of my my visa in
Mm,
Japan. I think is the best because I had met so many African here
mm,
who could not who could not transition so easily. Getting
mm,
the funniest moment to leave and get in the flight to back to Africa after 1 year in Japan. Like most of my friends couldn't believe that. They was like, "Oh, you are blessed," because I met people here in this stay more time here, and they could not go back home. So I think it
mm.
was something that I really appreciated. Yeah,
So you
getting
came to Japan. You came to Japan, and within 1 year, you were able to secure your status here in Japan, and were able to return to Africa within a year.
yes, yes.
Wow. And what was the reason? What were some of the reasons why you had to back to Africa within a year? Because one, the flight ticket alone cost around $2,000, and within a year, we don't know whether you had worked to save up to that $2,000 that you were going back to Africa with, and then two, that was a flight ticket, and then like you mentioned, the expectation back home. Wow, he's a
Yeah.
Japanese burger. Everything is fine. Everything is okay with you. Economic wise, financially, you are sound. What informed the decision to go back to Africa within a year? Considering, bear in mind the cost of flight, the expenses that you have to make back home, meeting people's expectations and all that. Why did you have to go back within a year?
Well, before coming to Japan, I was having some other projects in Liberia that was non that was on the whole,
Mm,
like my agriculture project, my farm project, and I had to put it on hold.
mm,
I need there was some customers that I also needed to supply in Bangladesh. I left that undone when
mm.
I came, and then I have these people, the others I needed to go back to Africa to finish with that before I come back. And but I could not go back because when I was on the refugee status, I make an attempt to go back, and it was like, if you go back, you cannot come back to Japan after 5 years. So I needed to
Oh,
wait. Yes, I needed to wait. That was mainly what I went back to Liberia. I went Liberia Africa Coast border, around the border line, to be able to finish with that.
mm.
And
Okay.
also, my parents were also there. The Ebola just started. I needed to also move some of them to somewhere else. Actually, the application to go back to Africa was not directed to Liberia because most of my
Okay.
businesses were the Ghana, Ivory Coast border. So it's like,
Okay.
yes, I wanted to go back to Accra, be able to go back to Abuaso area, Africa side, in order
Mm,
to complete that this thing,
okay.
that project. Yes,
Mm,
so it was kind of a headache on me. It's like
mm.
someone pay you it because my business then was like customers pay and I supply them the goods.
Uh,
Yes, so
I
when
get you. So all of a sudden, customer hear you that they're giving you money and you have left their supply. So it doesn't give a good reputation.
it does not give a good reputation to
Okay.
both my business. I needed to go back, and then I could not go back. I tried to talk to them, talk, and
Uh,
when I went, I could stay only in Ivory Coast, Ghana side because it was already the Ebola time. My
mm,
parents were my mom, let's just say my mom was in Monrovia. I needed to supply, how to call it, provide finances for her to go back in the interior, finding a safe zone. So it won't be easy. It was not easy to hear that in the let's say in Ivory Coast and not be able to reach them
mm,
out.
okay.
Mm.
So, so you have come to Japan, and where things have worked in a way for you to go back to like Africa within a year. So will you describe that whole experience as worthwhile? Coming to Japan, I know you had plans, you had ambitions, you have aims of coming to Japan. Do you, before we transition to you establishing the Laba bar and restaurant, the we talk about that. The period that you stayed in Japan and your ambition that you follow to come to Japan, will you describe that as worthwhile? Something that you can really sit back and say that okay, this is worth the time and energy and the effort that I put in to come to Japan in terms of your economic expectations, in terms of your general expectations in Japan. Will you describe it as being worthwhile?
Yes, I think Laba is one of my dream projects. Laba establishing a only Liberian restaurant in Japan is one of the things I think I can look back and say yes, every effort I put in Japan worth it, because
Mm.
I worked in the food company for almost 6 years.
In Japan.
Essential Group, yeah, in Japan.
Okay.
So while working in the food company, I got a lot of
No,
experience.
we will come to the Laba Bar and restaurant. We'll have a full session on that, on how you started the business and all that. But
Okay.
we are wrapping up on this section of the interview. And my main question to you is that moving to Japan within that period, coming to Japan, you came with an ambition to come to Japan
Yeah,
and better life, quote unquote. Will you say
yeah,
that was that worthwhile? Did you meet your expectations in terms of financial wise, in terms of your status wise? Did you meet that expectation? Because probably there's someone who is watching us from Africa today and wants to come to Japan. Will you? Is it worthwhile coming to Japan now to come and pursue a better life in terms of your financial status, in terms of your maybe health status and all that? Is it worthwhile coming moving from Africa to Japan to seek a better status? Will you describe it as such?
yeah. Then at that time it was much better than now.
Okay.
Yeah, in Japan at that time, you you may have that challenges, but not as compared to right now coming
Okay.
to Japan, because then there was just few Africans in Japan. The
Mm.
immigration policy was little more relaxed as compared to
Relax.
today. Yes,
Mm.
much more relaxed as according to my experience.
Mm.
Because yes, you will be getting full attention from other government agencies and other stuff, but now it's kind of a little difficult. If anyone wants to come to Japan for the greenest pasture, you need to consider two major things. The
Mm.
Japanese language is one thing. The finance, because if you come, you need to you need to start off from somewhere. If you
Mm.
don't have economic, you don't have that capability, it's going to be a kind of a challenging. So I
Mm.
think the startup point in Japan is a little bit challenging.
Okay. So, Mr. Eric is our special guest on the show. He's the CEO, the bank ruler, the founder of the Laba Bar and Restaurant in Tokyo, like I told you. Mr. Wulu, what informed your opinion or idea, the conception of the Laba Bar and Restaurant in Japan? Why did you decide to create a Liberian bar and restaurant here in Japan? Is it that you had a Liberian population in Japan that needed a taste of Liberia and it was absent, and you decided that you're going to introduce that? Or it was because you wanted foreigners, mainly Japanese people, to also have an exposition to the Liberian food? What was your reason for establishing the Laba Bar and Restaurant and to start cooking highly spicy West African oriented Liberian food here in Japan? What is the reason? Please tell us.
Well, there are two, let's just say three major reasons that inform my
Okay.
judgment. And those
Mm.
reasons were very. Number one reason is that Liberia has one of the best dishes in West Africa.
Okay.
Yes, many people they don't know. Even there are some African that do not know the kind of dish. Yeah, Liberian dishes. Like there
Okay.
are some dishes in Liberia that you don't find in some part of Africa. Cassava
Okay.
leaves. When you give, when I give cassava leaves to some of my African brothers, they will say, "Oh no, what are we doing? I have not done this before." You know,
Okay.
that's one thing. Is the second thing is there are many Japanese who have not uh, Africa. They do not
Okay.
know how the African dishes taste. Today,
Mm,
I have so many Japanese coming to our restaurant and like they like the food. If I
mm,
share some video, you will be shocked to see Japanese
mm,
eating with their hands. So it's like try to teach our culture, change the
mm.
image of Africa that is being put out there to the Japanese.
So that was
Because
your main reason for establishing the Lebar Bar and Restaurant was to expose or give some form of exposition of the
yes,
Liberian cultural cuisine to foreigners living in Japan mainly. Many Liberians know their food, but Japanese people, other African nationals, who you had to let them have a feel of the Liberian taste.
yes, I think Liberia has that cuisine that need to be out there. When you go to Tokyo, you will see the Ghanaian restaurant, you see the
Mm,
Nigerian restaurant, but you cannot see the Liberian restaurant. I was
mm.
always like, why there no Liberian restaurant in Japan as well? Because we
Okay.
have the unique.
So, did you have any challenges in terms of establishing the Lababai restaurant? In how was the whole process with in terms of documentation, in terms of space to start your business, in terms of the mobilization of capital to start, in terms of all these things? Did you have any foreign? Do you have any peculiar challenges that you had to face before you were able to successfully establish that? Because mind you, this is Japan, not Liberia, because back home there are a lot of a number of maneuverings that you can do to establish it, but here in a for you have to follow some like structured laid down procedure. um
Yeah,
how was the whole procedure like for you as in terms of establishing the laba bar and restaurant?
yeah. The idea of establishing Lava Bar and Restaurant came to me in 2019.
Mm,
2019 was in the Kawasaki area. So I visited the JICA Center, right? The
mm,
JICA Center, all the Africans who just come into Japan for short time visit.
mm, mm,
They face the same challenge that I faced when I arrived in Japan for the first time, looking for food and they cannot find. And they were always complaining that they are not used to the taste. There are few of them that we have to take them to the Ghanaian restaurant in Tokyo.
mm,
They will buy their food and then take them home. But then majority of them was also complaining about the food taste. So I was like, oh, this was the same thing that happened to me. But then
mm,
I wanted to establish this restaurant close to the JICA Center in Tokyo, Hatagaya,
mm,
where it would be easy to supply them. But the challenges was like it took me a long time. I could not get a space. Every
mm,
space was so expensive. I applied with bank for bank loan, was
mm.
denied so many times. Yes,
Eh?
and then the
You
challenge
applied
was
for bank
just
loans, you were denied a number of times.
number of times.
Wow.
Number of times. There was no bank who was willing to finance my idea. Okay.
Mm,
So
mm,
I needed to get somewhere. And then the COVID-19 started. So after when the COVID-19 started, I couldn't do anything. I needed to wait until after COVID. In that period, I started uh putting
mm,
myself together, financing together, and other stuff. So after the let's say 2024, let's just say 2023 again, I started the process. At the
mm,
end of 2023, I started the process. I went to Tokyo. It was kind of expensive to just start a business with the initial capital just for rent alone, initial deposit. It's close to 6 million, 5 millions, and then you have to pay
wow.
rent the 4
Six
months.
million
Yes,
yen. 6 million
yeah,
Japanese yen. That
yes,
should be in the region of around maybe $40,000.
yes, exactly, exactly. And that does not include maybe monthly rent and whatsoever. So it's like you
Monthly
are
rent.
taking this, yeah, just for acquisition of the property.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, it's kind of expensive. Finding the space is kind of a difficult. Suitable location is another challenge. Eh, so I had to fall back a little bit outside of Tokyo to Saitama. Here there are a lot
Mm,
of Ghanaians, all of yeah, Africans around here, but they're kind of a
mm,
little bit cheaper. It was good, and the government is the government estate. So I
mm,
applied with the government estates. I needed to wait for almost to the close to 6 months.
mm.
Yeah, close to 6 months to be able to get the property after filling in this document using translator. Sometimes you don't understand some of the contracts. Yes, it is challenging.
Wow.
It is.
So you had to go through all that challenges. Of course, that's the whole essence of establishing something like that, because life itself is a challenge, because you meet a lot of
Yeah.
challenges, you surmount the challenges, and when you were able to establish your vision, that's when you can really feel proud that because you had a vision, you had a lot of challenges, and you have been able to overcome the challenges. Now you've overcome one, the financial burden of having to pay for space to have your business, the other challenges that you confronted. You've gone through all that, and then finally you were able to start the Laba bar and restaurant
Yes.
in Saitama. So
Yes.
one, you mentioned that you work in a food a restaurant or a food chain industry for a period of about 6 years. Did it give you any special experience for you to be able to do this whole business within the period?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Uh,
what
the way
what
we
was the nature of the experience?
the way we handle food in Africa is quite different from how food
Okay,
is being handled in
okay.
sanitation is number one. It's very important in Japan. So like you are working in food industry, you need to always keep the place clean, keep your food up to date, check the temperature of your meat product and other stuff.
Mm,
Yeah, it's kind of a little different from that of Africa. And like for
mm,
us that run a restaurant where you have Japanese customers,
mm,
we need to do that. We need to do that because you need to be on the safe side.
mm. So how
Yeah.
so when you learned all those valuable lessons, and when you open it, did you how was the customer base like? Did everybody say, "Oh, there's a new Liberian restaurant in town. We're going to try the food. Maybe we like it. Maybe we want to taste we want to have a taste of the Liberian food. It's delicious. We've had a lot of things." How was the customer base like? Did it start boom, and then or did it start slowly, and then the message started spreading across? Oh, there's a new Liberian restaurant in town. And by the way, what the size of the Liberian population in Japan? Not in the entire Japan, but within the Tokyo Saitama enclave. What's the size of the Liberian population? Did you start with that customer target, or it was just everybody in Saitama coming to Lababa restaurant to eat?
Well, Liberians were not my major target actually when I
Mm,
started because I know the Liberian population. I served in the Liberian community for quite a while, so I
mm,
knew the Liberian population could not fit our restaurant. Okay, but there are other Africans that I was also targeting, but my
mm,
major target customers are the Japanese customers.
mm.
Yes, that's why
And
I'm an
how
African.
did it,
I love
how did it
African
take off?
coming.
Mm,
All the pickup is a pickup like yes, the picking point was very good, but then it started to go down. It went down and
mm,
then started come back up because
mm,
most of my Japanese was a lot of Japanese were coming, but there was this
mm,
one thing they started to complain because we were making the food almost like that of Liberia taste. So it's like a
Mm,
spicy, and the spicy was another thing. Japanese, they don't really like spicy
mm,
food. They feel.
mm,
So we need to adjust, make some adjustment, and you need to get back to the customers to let them know that there's been an adjustment. So
mm,
to get those repeated customers was kind of a little challenging.
mm.
Yes, exactly. It picked up fine, and then certain part of the year it went down, very down, but we were still on course. We hold on to the
So,
process.
mm. So within that challenging period of starting a business, so normally the the period or the stages of startups are like this. So you start, you make a loss, you break even, then you start making profit. So
Yes.
the diminishing marginal returns cycle of your business. So you start, you made loss, you break even, you make profit, and then the dip, you experience the dip. So within the period that you experienced the dip, how was it like? Were you, what was on your mind exactly? Did you did you have thoughts about giving up at some point, or was it a challenging moment? Did you consider quitting? How was the whole thing like? Because establishing a business, taking off and then coming down and all that, how did you navigate through that difficult period?
Yes, at that period, there's time where you think you need to give up, and then
Mm,
there is time where you will think about those few customers who still believe in you. How are you
mm,
going to, yeah, how are you going to handle that? Because
mm,
we have still, even though we went down, but there were some customers that were still coming, right? They believe
mm,
us. They come really busy. So I was just,
mm,
there was my inspiration, because actually I work alone with my wife, the two of us. We do this thing
mm,
together. So there's time where we say, okay, we need to move the restaurant elsewhere.
mm,
The location, the location is not favorable. We have all these thoughts, but
mm.
still hold on to it. We believe that it was going to work. We still believe
And it
that.
started again.
Yeah, it started working. It started working because sometimes you will see the customer when we established the customer feedback. We wanted to know
Mm,
where some of the customers were coming from, how they got to know about the restaurant. And if you check the distance some of these customers come from, some of them will just go on our on internet, and then we'll
mm.
drive from Yokohama, which is almost 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yes, 2 hours. And they come to the restaurant. So I'm like, if people can leave from Yokohama, from Tokyo, and then come here, we moving again. How are you going to do it? It's better we stay here. It means that things are going to work out.
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't a location issue. It was more or less like taking customer feedback and working with the customer feedback. So
Yes,
that was a
yes,
good decision that you took, and I'm sure the decision has earned you the results that you were looking for. You are still with us. This is the One Africa One World Show. Here's the Africa Radio Extra. Our guest today is Mr. Eric Farly Wulu, a Liberian national living and working in Japan. He is the CEO, the bankroller, the financier, the founder of Labor Bar and Restaurant in Saitama. Initially, I said Tokyo, but actually, he's informed us that the restaurant is in Saitama. Saitama and Tokyo are not very far. So if you come to Tokyo, you can just dash through Saitama and then go and have a taste of the the delicious African cuisine, West African cuisine. Let me put it that way. I keep reminding you that Mr. Farley has stayed in Liberia, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. So when he's cooking, he has a little bit of each, and he's got all those aspect to it. So
yeah,
we are getting close to the section of the interview. You mentioned JICA. We know that JICA operates in most African countries. JICA is in Ghana, they are in Liberia, they are in most of the African countries. Now, I'm sure JICA goes to Liberia. That means that they send some Japanese people to Liberia, and when they go to Liberia, they eat Liberian food. So when they are going to Liberia, um, the, is there a point that JICA will say that okay, we are sending maybe 20 Japanese nationals to Liberia, and because we want them to get used to the Liberian taste, we want them to start eating some Liberian food so that when they get there, they don't get disoriented by the food. Do you have any like offers like that coming from JICA, or just a random Japanese people coming in to eat?
Yes, I have. We received few stars from the JICA Tokyo, and
Mm,
we have been trying. Also, we still continue to push JICA to see how best we can have something like a showcasing our food with JICA.
mm,
The there's a little pushback because JICA continue to tell me that they also have their own restaurant within their facilities. Okay, so they
mm,
expect those come on the JICA program like those Africans from various
mm,
ministries that yeah
mm,
to get used to their food to adapt themselves into their food system. So they wouldn't allow us to take our food closer to their facility because we have a food truck here. I have a food truck
mm,
that sometimes yeah. So I was like, oh, if you can give me a day in a week like Wednesday, I can name that day like a JICA day. Okay, bring the food from
mm,
our restaurant into our food truck and close to your facility. The introduce the food to some of these Africans who are just coming for the short time in
mm,
order to get the they want. But there's still pushback. I'm still pushing there, still trying to give them the vision, the understanding. Yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm hopeful that some will understand that.
Well, this has been a very, very interesting session with the CEO and founder of Labour Bar and Restaurant in Saitama, Mr. Eric Farley Wulu. We are wrapping up the session. Mr. Farley, we've already
Yes,
spoken about this aspect before, but I want you to, if you can, punch that line again. If there's any African watching us from West Africa and is considering or has in mind relocating to Japan at some point in time, what would be that two two or three advice that you give to such a person that in 2026, if you plan of relocating to Japan, if you plan of relocating to Japan in 2026, these are the things that you need to consider before you come to Japan. What would be the advice that you give to such a young African who might be thinking about moving to Japan now?
I think the Japanese language is one thing. You can now go on the YouTube and be able to study some few Japanese online. And the second thing is be able to consider your financial status. You cannot integrate into the system so easily. It's going to take up to a period of time. If you go through the
Mm,
process like me, where you want to go, I don't know, refugee or whatsoever, it depends on
mm,
how you like now. You have to stay somewhere around for almost 8 good months doing nothing in Japan. How are you going to take care of yourself?
mm.
People need to consider this thing.
Okay.
Yes, and the housing too. It's difficult to get a housing unit now in Japan for just common.
Mm,
If you don't have a job, you cannot rent an apartment so easily unless you pay
mm,
very expensive. So you need to consider your finance.
mm.
Hmm,
Okay,
yeah.
so these areas are very critical. So one, you're looking at the language barrier because almost everywhere you pass, Japanese people speak the Japanese language. Two, you are looking at your status when you come to Japan because it will take you some time for you to be able to adjust and properly recognized in the system to be able to work, and that
Yes.
obviously will have to do with your finances, your economy, how you be able to pay for your rent, how you feed, how you clothe yourself, and all that. So which means that if you are thinking of relocating to Japan now in 2026, you have to take a number of things into consideration before you take that decision that you're coming to
Yes.
Japan. That these are real life valuable experiences that Mr. Eric Farley Wulu, the CEO of Labour Bar and Restaurant. I'll go to Tokyo soon. So when I go to Tokyo, most definitely, I'll go to Saitama and go and eat Liberian food for the first time. Ghana is very close to Liberia. So like you said, so from Ghana, Ivory Coast, then you enter into Liberia. But I've never eaten Liberian food before. But I'll make sure that I'll go and then recognize that and then eat Liberian food. But for Ivory Coast food, Ghana and Ivory Coast, though we are a little bit oriented in different ways because Ivory Coast is francophone and Ghana is anglophone, but we are more or less like brothers. People think that Ghana and Nigeria are more closer, but that is not true. Ghana and Ivory
Yes.
Coast are much more closer because of the ball. They are some Ghanaians who are living in Ivory Coast. In fact, there are some of the Ivorian nationals who are Ghanaians who migrated from Ghana to Ivory Coast. So you find some Ivorians bearing Ghanaian names. If you watch the 2018 World Cup, was it the 2018 or the 2014 FIFA World Cup? One of them, Ivory Coast went to that World Cup with the goalkeeper who was called the Yeboah. That's a typical
Mm.
Ghanaian name. They are not Ghanaian; they are Ivory Coast by. So the when you are talking about the cuisines, Ghana and Ivory Coast are much more similar. I don't know about Liberia, but most definitely the next time I go to Tokyo, I'll go to Saitama and then go to the Laba Bar and Restaurant and then have a taste of the Liberian cuisine for the first time. But if you are in Africa and your flight is maybe next week, next month, you are coming next 2 days, you are landing in Tokyo, you come and then you taste the Japanese food and you don't like it, especially if you are coming from West Africa, don't struggle. The place to be is a Laba Bar and Restaurant. They will get you sorted. You will not have to go and eat some food. You buy some fish and then you put the fish in your mouth and the fish is tasting sugar. No, that one is no good. Go and eat the original West African food at the Laba Bar and Restaurant in Saitama. That's where you get the best in terms of the meal. Mr. Eric Farley Wulu has been our special guest on the One Africa One Word show, and the conversation has been exciting and interesting. This is where we drop the curtain down on today's show. Thank you very much, Mr. CEO, for joining us today. We hope to come to your business center one day and then have a whole session and then speak to you about how the whole food procedure. You go through the whole food procedure and then probably we can learn for ourselves how to prepare Liberian food and then make some at home and then eat. And when we come out to eat at your restaurant as well. Thank you very much for joining us on the One Africa One World show today.
Thank you very much. I will be expecting you, and when you are coming, you just let me know. I can bake some banku for you. We have banku also.
Hi. No, I'll not want to eat banku. I want to eat the Liberian food. I want to eat the Liberian food when I come.
Yeah, you can compare the Liberian jollof rice with that of Ghana jollof rice.
That one is a very very interesting conversation to have because there are some people on the other side of West Africa who are competing with Ghana for the best jollof rice. Now Liberia also want to also enter into the conversation. Liberia also want to enter into the conversation on who has the best jollof rice in it. but the fact is that the jollof rice originated from Senegal. That's the fact. But all these countries, Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, and all these, we've stolen it, and we all keep adding our little twist and turns to it and all that. But one thing I can tell you for sure, I've eaten Liberian and Nigerian jollof rice. I've eaten that of Ghana. I've eaten that of the Senegalese. I can tell you the best one is the Ghanaian one. That's what I can say. I'll go and taste the Liberian one, and then after that we can have a conversation. But I have eaten the three. I've eaten Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria. Ghana is number one. The next time I go to Saitama, I will go and eat the Liberian jollof rice, and then we will know which one is the best jollof rice. This is One Africa One World Show, and here is Jafric Radio Extra. My name is Emmanuel Acheko. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu. Until we meet again, matane, sayonara, bye bye.